Hello, and welcome to our virtual annual discipline-specific activity for the 2021-22 school year. For those of you who do not know me, I am Kaylee Malsey, the Associate Dean of School Partnerships. Thank you for participating in our ACE annual discipline-specific activity. As the pandemic continues to influence our yearly activities, we are pleased that we are able to still provide you with an opportunity to complete our NACEP required activities in a platform where you can make a connection to your liaison. Throughout the fall, ACE liaisons scheduled live Zoom sessions to discuss specific topics related to the disciplines in which you teach. While we understand that it is not always possible for you to attend the live sessions, these sessions were recorded so you can get the benefit of the event with the discussion from those who attended. Please enjoy the recording of your annual discipline-specific activity. We hope next year we will be able to welcome you back to our campus for an in-person event. Thank you for your continued hard work in making this program available to students.
We can probably begin. I don't know, I didn't see the RSVP list, so I don't know who might have planned on coming, but is not coming yet. And I hate to make you guys wait. So we can probably just jump into things and we'll see if anybody else tunes in. I will attempt to share my screen here. All right, do you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, cool. What I hope to do today is kind of what we do every time we meet like this. I like to share a few things and then get some information from you as well, what's new in your classes. I have recently done a new kind of impromptu game that I thought I'd share with you guys. I was doing something with Gaze Tracker, an eye tracker thing that you can do online that I also found was kind of interesting. I have a study that I can tell you about very briefly about video self-assessment and public speaking anxiety. And then they always ask us to talk about TRACDAT forms, the assessment forms. So I can talk about that real quick, and then I can talk about what is going on in your classes as well. What is new and exciting in your classes? So if you'll let me talk for the next couple of minutes, I'll jump into this stuff. The new impromptu game that I told you about. Here's one of our students stretching, getting in shape for it. We decided to do this in context with my media production classes and other communication classes. We decided to create a game show that was kind of like a part reality show, part the dating game, but it was under a premise called My Personal Assistant. And it's the idea that we find somebody, we're going to give this person a personal assistant in the spring term. This is all made up, we're not really doing any of this, but they're going to become a personal assistant. And on this game show, they are going to answer questions from this person about different situations that this person might be involved in college. And, can you help me study for a test, or can you help me make an 8 a.m. class, or whatever it might be. And then the participants have to respond in an impromptu manner. The fellow you see here is actually also a public speaking student. He volunteered to be the host for the show, so we put a colorful background behind him. But we wanted it to look like a TV show, but it's also a Zoom event. So basically, it's a Zoom/TV show. I think I'm going to show you guys about 3 minutes of it, not too much, but I'll give everybody a chance to talk on it so you can see how everybody is participating in it in that kind of a fun, I hope, impromptu style. The whole show went about half an hour. My video production students are still editing it and adding commercials, and they're going to add music and applause and different things like that. So it sounds like a real show. But anyway, we had fun with it. I thought I'd share it with you guys. I'm going to play a moment and then make sure you can hear the audio, but here we go.
Hello and welcome back, my wonderful audience, to My Personal Assistant. Today we have one of my favorite contestants, Robert Alphonse, and he'll be...
Okay, before I continue, can everybody hear that okay?
Yes.
Okay, good. Let me go.
We'll be picking between 3 wonderful people from Penn Highlands to be his personal assistant. First, we have contestant number 1, Jeffrey. He's a Penn Highlands business student trying his best and getting great grades the whole time. Second, we have Christine. She's in liberal arts and she's always trying her hardest to keep her day cheery. And contestant number 3, we have Sandra. She's also in liberal arts and she's working very hard at the college. Today, we're going to be rotating between all 3. We're going to have our main contestant questioning each one of them to make sure that he can find his perfect personal assistant. And we're going to be running through all the questions with a few commercial breaks and some wonderful little jokes inside.
All right, I guess we'll start with contestant number 1, Jeffrey. Jeffrey, my instructor and I do not get along, and I gotta talk to him. I got a question I need to ask him. Can you help me in dealing with my instructor and just talking with him and forming a dialogue?
Sure, Robert. I'm pretty good with talking to professors. Maybe I can sit them down and kind of explain your situation, that you're kind of introverted and you're not really good at, articulating what you need to say to him. Maybe he'll give you a little bit of wiggle room.
He's a very mean teacher. Do you know Rick? He's very mean, and how do you deal with something like that when it's just he's a very, very, very mean person?
Well, I can be pretty persuasive, and I can dish it out too. So, he may have met his match if I get to talk to him.
All right, thank you, Jeffrey. Contestant number 3, Sandra. What can you do to help me connect with my mean Professor Rick?
Well, it is all about having great communication skills. So first, I would try to influence you to get better communication skills and just go up to him and suck it up and say, hey, I need help with this problem. And then I would be right there coaching you to do this and helping you get through it.
Okay, I may have to duck a point because you said now I have to do something. Remember, it's all Rick's fault.
Okay, then I would also talk to him and say, why are you doing this to the person that I look up to whenever I'm your assistant? Why would you ever treat him like that? I would help influence him to be a better person and help you with your studies.
Much better, making it his fault. All right, contestant number 2, Christine. There are classes that I do not excel in. Math is definitely one of them. Can you help me in my math skills? Because once they get letters and numbers and everything, my mind goes blank.
I would gladly help you with your math work. Math is actually one of my best classes, so I will personally tutor you whenever you need it, before tests, with your homework. I will walk you through every step if you need be.
Thank you very much, Christine.
Okay, I'm going to stop right there just to talk a little bit more about how we put that together. Again, the concept was everything is impromptu and you're role playing somebody else. Everybody there was a student except the fellow who was asking the questions. His name is actually Russ Beckett. He's the morning DJ on Hot 92, and he is a former Penn Highlands student. And now he's kind of living the dream and has the job that he loves and all that kind of stuff. So we thought it would be fun to ask him to participate and be part of this as well. And then I can tell you the part about Jeffrey I threw in there was fun when Russ says, I have this really mean teacher, Rick. What can you do to help me? I'm standing right there. I'm standing there looking at Jeffrey, so that's why he's like really pausing, and we put the sound effects of the crickets in there, because we thought that would be fun. It was just a more of a inside joke for all the students than it was for the audience members to see. But the other thing that happened was, for our purposes, we created characters for each of these people to play. So Jeffrey Donner is supposed to be a bit like Jeffrey Dahmer, the serial killer. He's actually a person who was in prison for murder, and now he's out getting his life turned around. And as the show went on, he was supposed to get more and more kind of violence oriented. So like if I think at one point, Russ had said, what do I do if I want to take a class and it's already filled up, it's already got a full number of students. And, he said something like, well, accidents happen. And some of those students might not make it to the first day of class, So that was kind of silly. And the other person who was, what they call her, Sandra Dietrich was her made up name. She was supposed to be like a Kardashian. She was supposed to be like very rich, very kind of fussy and well-to-do. And even though she wanted this job because it pays really well, she also felt like she's the one who should have a personal assistant. He should be taking care of her, not the other way around. And that their assignment was to let those real aspects of their lives grow as the show went on. So more and more questions were going to get kind of more and more bizarre. But anyway, it went really well. And I thought, well, by golly, I'm going to share that during our ACE disciplinary meeting, because everybody has Zoom or some other kind of conference app. And everybody, because of that, could pull off something like this really pretty easily. Get 6 students either in different rooms or at home and get them to role play these different characters, and presto, you've got a show. The only thing we did so far was add a background to our main guy, the host of the show. So he looks like he's at a game show host or whatever. But aside from that, and we can do this because, again, we're video production people, but we're going to add background music and applause and laughter and a commercial and, all these different kinds of things. But it really made for a fun kind of impromptu experience, rather than all I've ever done in the past was I have the impromptu cards, and I say, here, pick a card, go up and answer this, take 2 minutes to answer this card. So this was a little bit different, and we thought it was kind of fun as well. All right, let me move on. I did something else this semester, which was originally not connected to public speaking. And I guess in my mind, I connect everything to public speaking, or I connect everything to everything else. And this was eye tracker technology. We talked to the students a little bit about how this works, and this is actually something you can do online very easily now. And what I decided I was going to do was I was going to find some images on this website I'm going to mention to you here in a moment. Let my students go through the eye tracker process so we can see what they are looking at when they look at these pictures. And I'll give you a sneak preview. They look at everybody's eyes. And so it's kind of telling when we're in public speaking and we're trying to get people to have good eye contact, and we're talking about the importance of good eye contact. It ended up being a really fun activity to have the students themselves go through the eye tracker thing and find out what they look at when they see faces, and then suddenly go, oh my gosh, I really do. I look into their eyes. And so if you're going to be an effective public speaker, you have to learn to have good eye contact. So what this site is, I don't know how many of you might have ever done something like this in the past, but when you go to this site, you will be asked to do a calibration thing. So you can see me doing this here. I put my face in the middle. I click on the calibration thing. And what it does is it creates a dot on the screen, and you're asked to keep your head very still and let your eyes follow the dots. And while it's doing that, it's reading your camera, and it is deciding what you look like, when your eyes are going in different places. Then what they do is they show you a bunch of pictures. And I'm gonna show you these pictures. These are their pictures, actually not mine. And they're just pictures of people, but I'm going to show you these pictures so we can see a bit of what that looks like. Here we go. You'll see an indicator of where the student's eyes are, and you'll see a video representation of 3 different colors. Red is the most intense, yellow the next intense, and green and blue the least intense. So there you see right away we're looking at eyes. Here we see a baby and a mother, perhaps, and ironically, the gaze is going at both eyes, which I kind of thought was interesting. Here is a picture of a woman, and you can't see her eyes really. It's very, very dark in silhouette, and yet where do our eyes go? Our eyes go to her eyes. We are trying to make sense of this picture, trying to make sense of of who she is and what she's all about by looking at her eyes. Here's a picture of a boy. It looks like he's crying. And again, you can see the indicator for the person who is taking the test is going back and forth and glancing at those eyes. I thought this was really interesting. This site will allow you to import your own pictures. I haven't done that yet. I think you have to join. Supposedly it's free. I haven't done it yet, but I would like to join and then maybe just get somebody talking like a regular public speaker person chatting, and then see what happens to the eyes. See where the eyes of the audience goes. And I suspect it'd be the same thing. The eyes would always go to the eyes. And as public speaking instructors, we know this, but I think it's kind of fun to let students experience this for themselves. And that's what the goal was here. I have one more little video I'm going to show you connected to this. And this is kind of fun because when you go to this site, they have a lot, it's kind of like a marketing based site. So they have a lot of commercials and shows and different things like that give you the opportunity to discover where the eyes are when there's a commercial on, for example. I'm going to hit play on this so you guys can see it. I thought this was fun because this is a Cheetos commercial. We never look at Cheetos. We look at faces. Every time a face pops on the screen, which is every couple seconds, you can see by the red indicator splotch, that's where people are looking. And the only time we ever look at Cheetos is right at the bitter end when it fills up a large part of the screen in the left. Otherwise than that, we're always focused on the face. And again, that wasn't my video, that was their video. One of dozens of videos they have on there. They have all kinds of different things, but they allow you to put your own up there as well if you join. So I think it would be fun to maybe even take one of my students or something like that, or find a video online of somebody just talking and see how our eyes are drawn to their eyes. And also do the same thing with visual aid. So if we have something with a visual aid, will we see the eyes go to the visual aid? Which I believe we would, so it'd be kind of good evidence for the students that would happen. I always like to share with you interesting things that I read online. I always try to keep up to date with what's happening in public speaking studies. And this is one I thought was interesting, kind of for a whole different reason. This says use of self-assessment of video recording raises students' awareness of development of their oral presentation skills. I had gone into Google Scholar and into EBSCOhost to get some information about video self-monitoring to see if there's anything new along that arena. I've often done that in my classes, and maybe you guys have as well, where you simply record somebody doing a speech, and then you maybe ask them to watch it later and do a self-critique of their own speech or something along those lines. And what I thought was interesting about this, the last sentence in this part of their abstract says, the predominant response was that this new learning activity increased students' awareness of the importance of presentation skills without provoking their anxiety. So it did not raise anxiety levels to watch themselves do a video recorded speech. And I think if I ever hesitated to do it, it was usually my thought that, I know some people don't like to look at themselves on video. This is a scary class to begin with for a lot of students. I don't want to say, okay, now I'm going to videotape you, make you watch yourself, so sometimes I do it, sometimes I don't. But this is the first study I've seen which seemed to indicate it was not a stressful experience for the students to do that. And certainly them watching it themselves as compared to maybe the whole class watching it might fit into that as well. They can watch it at home at their own convenience. So that is some new information I thought that was interesting and I wanted to share with you guys. Once again, let me go through the assessment form that we have for our classes. I have this actually attached to an email, so I think I can send it to all of you if you'd like. But those of you that have been with us before, you know what the assessment form looks like. What we ask you to do is take the assessment form, put your name on it. I've already put in public speaking, COM 101. A couple other details you can fill in there. And then down at the bottom, it says, please indicate the learning outcome listed on the syllabus. We really only have one or two that we ever use. And the ones that we used, this is the first one: research, prepare, and deliver 3 types of speeches: to inform, to persuade, and to entertain, with varying time limits for each speech. So what we would ask you guys to do is to certainly do 3 different speeches, usually an information speech, a persuasion speech, and almost anything else can be a entertainment speech, like an impromptu or whatever. Make them different times, so they're not always the exact same time, and allow there to be 3 elements there that, there's research, there is preparation, and then there is delivery, and see how well they do. If they don't do well, that's okay. We still want to know, but we normally hope for like a 70 percentile, like a C rating for the students in general who are in the ACE program. So again, this doesn't involve any other students. This is just your ACE students. And in some cases, you might have 5 or 6 or 10 students. Only 1 or 2 are ACE students. So you only have to fill out a form based upon those couple of students. So the assessment form looks like that on the first part of it. The second part of it also says, what changes would you make to instruction next time you teach the course to have the students show increased improvement? If there's nothing, if you're like me and you've been teaching for years and there's nothing off the top of your head you can think of, you can simply say, not applicable, NA, no changes at this time, or something like that. When I do my assessment form, I might mention that we did the eye tracker activity. I might mention that we did the video show, the game show, kind of impromptu, to do a different way of doing impromptu, something like that I can put in there. But for the most part, it's just a matter of identifying anything you think that could be done to make the situation better. So having said all that, now I get to, let me stop sharing, and bring you guys back on, and find out what's going on in your classes. Is there anything new that you can share with the group about how things are going in your public speaking classes this year?
I'll start. So I'm at Greater Johnstown High School, and this year is one of my smallest public speaking groups since I've started doing the ACE courses. I have a total of, I think, 12 kids overall, and I believe only one of them is dual enrolled for Penn Highlands. And right now we've just started impromptu speeches. They have not prepared any, I guess that's kind of an oxymoron, but I demonstrated impromptu speaking yesterday and today for the students, and just had them jot down some general topics that would be easy for anybody to stand up and speak to, and then we gathered them up, and I chose from those, and I gave myself like a 4-minute preparation time, and sort of used my whiteboard to draft out to them how I went through the process of creating an outline for that impromptu speech. And I talked out loud for them as I did it so that they could see my thinking. I gave my demonstration, that I keep saying demonstration because we just completed demonstration speeches, but I performed my impromptu speech, and they gave me feedback at the end that helped greatly for them to see it in me going through the process of how to put something together in 4 or 5 minutes. And next week, I'm going to have them actually practice impromptu speeches before they deliver the official graded one. So they're having fun with it so far.
Are they, the practice you mentioned, are they practicing the actual speech they will later present? Or do they get a different
No.
speech later? Different topic?
These are practice topics,
Okay,
and they're more general, I think, and more probably the topics are lending themselves more easily for them to get up there and speak off the cuff. A little bit more so than the impromptu speeches that they will do for the grade. And
Right.
they'll know which one is for the grade. But I wanted to give them several, since it's such a small group, we have time this year to go through several little practice rounds of impromptu speaking. For instance, there was one team, a partnership of students who said, hey, we want to throw together and we can do this because most of the speeches that we're going to do this year will be off the cuff anyway. Ha ha. Because they argued that, sometimes we just get up there and we don't prepare. So they tried to do it. And in the process yesterday, they really got off focus. So it kind of showed them that, all right, well, maybe we do need to write down an outline or a framework of some sort. My topic I chose from the group of topics that the kids gave to me was what career I could never do. What is one career that I would never be able to do? And so again, I thought out loud for them and I picked being an astronaut. And I framed it, like I said, they didn't tell me how many reasons I needed to come up with in the prompt. So I said 3 things. I would never be able to do it because I'm afraid of things. I have fear. The second one is motion sickness. And the third one is I don't think I'm intelligent enough to be an astrophysicist or an astronaut. And so just showing them how I framed that into 3 things, and that there are many careers I would never be able to do, but I had to pick one. I had to do it quickly, and I had to come up with 3 different reasons why I wouldn't be able to do it. And then elaborate where the BS comes in is under each of those 3, subtopic. Yeah.
Very good.
We're going to have more fun with it. Yeah.
I always find that the impromptu is one of those speeches that students get really scared about. And yet when they do it, then they love it. And I always get students going, can we do more impromptus? They after they do at least one, and I think they need to discover it's not a trivia contest. We're not going to, embarrass you by asking you trivia questions you can't answer. It's all subjective. It's all things that really just think about. You get asking your opinion on it. And then they seem to have a good time. So yeah, they start out thinking those are really scary speeches, and then they end up liking them. When you were asking that question, my first thought was Undertaker. I don't think I would want to be an Undertaker.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Not
Yeah,
squeamish
nor would
about
I.
dead bodies. I just don't have an interest in dealing with them, I guess. But that was the first thing. Then you said astronaut, and I thought, oh no, I could be an astronaut. That'd be cool. I could do that. I'm also not smart enough, but I think I'd probably enjoy it. I don't know if I've told you this before, but in my classes, I do visual impromptus. I show them a picture. It's a cartoon drawn picture, kind of a silly picture. And then they have to make up a story to explain what's going on in the picture. That goes over pretty well too. Not as well. I kind of feel that's almost like a left brain, right brain kind of activity. And there are some students who look at it and go, I have no idea. I don't know what to do. I'm looking at this picture and it's a crazy picture. I don't know what's going on. But I have other students who just latch onto that and roll with it. And it's like this epic movie, that comes out of their mouth. And in 10 minutes, they're telling us about this incredible story that's happening based on the one image. But I usually do, if I do a round 2 of impromptus, if we have time or I have some reason to want to do another round of impromptus, I hate to repeat myself and do the same thing. So I do the visual impromptus, but they can be fun too. Anybody else have any comments about impromptus?
I don't really do an impromptu unit. I just kind of will pepper them throughout my course because I find it's a good way to just get them up speaking if we've been working more like at our seats or writing the speeches, just to, because I try to get them up like at least once a week talking, if not more.
Right.
So I'll just kind of pepper them throughout. But it was kind of usually what I would do is like give them a topic and give them like maybe 15 minutes or so to get their thoughts together and then get up and present them. But today I did one, and I was doing like a Christmas theme where we sat in a circle, and I would give them, and they were kind of like silly prompts, like why is Rudolph's nose red, and just different Christmas themes like that. And they would start a story, and I timed them. They had 40 seconds, and then as soon as the timer went off, they like called on someone else in the circle, and they had to continue the story. And so just working on listening as well as getting your thoughts together quickly and continuing on with what was being said. They seemed to have fun with it. Yeah.
Did you have the timer in a place where they could see it, or did you simply say, time's up, next person?
I just had it where I could see it.
Okay. The reason I ask is because in the past, this is several years ago for me, but I put the timer up on a screen, and then I kind of realized it doesn't work because they look at the timer too much. They're kind of not addressing the audience. Now they're always looking to see where their time is. And they put a huge amount of emphasis on, getting down to 0 or whatever. Or if they have 10 seconds, they'll just go, well, okay, I guess I have 5, 4, 3, and it kind of ruined it. So I've done that a couple of times, but then I never let them see the timer anymore. So they focus on the speech. But that sounds
I like
fun.
that idea. Like Melissa, I'm dealing with the smallest classes I've ever had. I have 2 classes this semester and 1 next. And first period, I have four kids, and really small. And then 7th period, I have 6 kids. And then next semester, I think I have 8. So these are the smallest I've ever had. What I'm finding with that is I have a lot more time, because when I had 18 kids and they're doing 15-minute speeches, it took the better part of 2 weeks. And now 2 days and we're done. So I have a lot of time, and I've done a lot of little impromptu. I also don't do a graded impromptu, but I do more in the beginning. I do a lot in the beginning, actually, and I haven't done anything recently, but I like what you do, Jessica. That's fun. One thing I do that they like is I'll give them a year. I have just a bunch of years on pieces of paper, like 1930 and 1962, and just whatever random years. And then they draw one, and then they have to find interesting information about that year. I'll give them 15 minutes, and then they have to present things from that year. And I have a lot of magazines in my class, and I'll just randomly pull pictures out of a magazine and hand them to them, and they have to come up with a backstory to the picture. They do Thanksgiving, right before Thanksgiving, they had to include traditions they want to have whenever they're the mom or the dad in the home, a funny food story or a poignant story, but they have to talk about a food. And I'll have them do a Christmas memory one. They're working on those. So just little things like that. But I like the continuing story one. That sounds fun. But yeah, I'm finding we have a lot of time. So I'm like, hey guys, let's and I put their names on popsicle sticks, and then I'll pull one and I'll say, go up, and I'll just say something, and they have to talk about it. And I have a couple icebreaker books just for groups, 200 questions, icebreaker game, whatever. And we do that a lot. But the big speeches, for the special occasion, I always have them do a commencement speech. So
that's cool too. Yeah, I don't know if there's a magic number for an ideal public speaking course, but for me, it would be probably like 15 or something like that. And that takes into account that at any given time, a couple of them might not be there. But, 10 to 15 is a nice number where you've got, a fairly good class and a lot of speeches to do, but there's still time to get, to do other things. But like you, I've had both extremes. I think the most we've ever had, I think public speaking used to have 30 students in it. And like you said, you got 30 students and they're all doing even a 5-minute speech. That's all you get done that day. You know, you're just let's do this and go home. Because not only are they, does it take up a lot of time, but I feel like everybody's burned out after watching 30 speeches. They're not really focused and able to pay much attention anyway. But then you have that opposite extreme. Like you said, you might have just a couple of students. And then it's like, we're going to do, you know, 3 speeches today, and then I've got another hour, you know, that I have to do something before you're dismissed. And it's hard to find things that are really valuable. I mean, we watch speeches on video and some different, you know, different things like that. And I have a handful of activities I can kind of pull out of my hat and do at different times. But like you guys, our count is down at the moment. So we have smaller students. And I hate to say it, but you also lose some through attrition. That's probably not as often as in high school as it is in college, maybe. But, you know, we have students who drop the course. And either they don't like public speaking or they just decide, I'll take this later or whatever, but I can start with 10 people and end with 5 people because they all end up, you know, deciding they'll do it elsewhere or they drop out or whatever. I don't know. So it is rough when you have a smaller crowd. This is our first time. I don't know if you guys know this about Penn Highlands, but we have a winter session. And public speaking is one of our winter session courses. I'll be teaching it online. And I'm happy to do that, but now I wonder, how's that going to impact the spring term? How many students who maybe were going to take it in spring now decided, I'll take it over our so-called winter break over the holidays. I'll take it then, and then I won't take it in the spring. So maybe my spring numbers will be way down. I don't know. But I've got a handful of people anyway in the winter session at the moment. And that's going to be weird because that's over Christmas and New Year's. Ooh. So I don't know. Like I said, we've never done it before. So I don't know how it's going to work, if it's going to be a problem or not. How about you, Tracy? What's new with your class? What's going on?
I appreciate how you guys are sharing different ways to approach a topic, like whether it be impromptu speeches or, well, actually, you've all been talking about impromptu from the game show. That was a creative idea that I may borrow. Something we've done so far that I try to encourage the students to into the course by using anecdotes as a type of evidence as one of their first speeches. And that's because we all have stories to tell, right? Like that's a part of human nature. And so what I find is that they seem less stressed about the content because it's their story and they're learning about the power of stories in order to inform or persuade or entertain or all the reasons. But what I didn't expect is that this year especially, several of my students shared very personal experiences and deep emotions about something. Like one girl was not nervous about public speaking as much as sharing her story. And they picked their stories. So I found that interesting that they're choosing these topics to share that are very revealing. And I thought it was a surprising byproduct, I guess, of the experience that it drew the class closer together, because now you see these people, we all have problems or things that we've been dealing with, and some of them were super powerful. That was an unanticipated outcome of an informative speech using anecdotes at the beginning of the year. But I wanted to also share another idea that we'll be going into soon. And I find it's a way that I like to introduce citing evidence to help, like you did with the game show, to help students get into a character. So it's not just always their personal persona delivering these speeches, but it takes on this other element. And so for the next unit, we're going to be news broadcasters. And they get to pick the topic of history or an event, whether it's like a big deal or it was something that just intrigued them that they learned in school. And they pick that as though it just happened and they're reporting the breaking news. And so I find that students get into the anchor role, and like that sometimes helps them, I don't know, like be more engaged or more interested in the assignment that way than just cite 5 pieces of evidence, for each paragraph or whatever. So that's something that they typically do well with, and they have fun with the multimedia, like what will you put in the background for that news story on the screen and that sort of thing. But another thing that I find interesting about the news broadcaster speech is that they either learn more about a topic that interests them through the research and the delivery, or the students do. For example, last year I learned more about, I think it's Juju Schuster, I forget his name, but he's like a Steelers player. Like the student was really into sports and he wasn't much into school, but he reported like he was this sports broadcaster. And so he really got into the skills that I wanted them to demonstrate through the speech, because he was interested in the topic. He reported on it like an expert. He cited evidence, but it was also like he was confident with the evidence as well. So that's what we'll be going into next. So as a different way of delivering an informative speech while citing evidence in a creative way. Oh, the last example to share with that is one year I had students report from the moon. They put the moon in the background and they were reporters that were covering the first landing on the moon. So it was like this anachronistic contrast between what was really available technology-wise back in that day versus reporting it today, which was kind of fun too. So that's something we've done with the anecdotes as evidence, and that's something that we'll be going into as another way of citing evidence with informative speeches.
I like that. If you know my history, I worked in news for 27 years before I became a full-time instructor, and that never occurred to me to do that. But I like that idea, and it's fun to hear that the students really get engaged using that. Did you ever give thought to having them do it in front of a green screen and then give them a background, give them a news background or a event background?
You're speaking outside of my realm of confidence, like just a green back wall, or like putting green on my, like, what do you mean? Like, I don't have a green screen.
Okay, I thought you did, but I
have a green wall, but then I put a screen over it, ironically, for like a smart board screen over the green wall. So I no longer have that green background.
Okay.
Unless I wouldn't know what to do with that.
Okay, yeah, when I say green screen, I just mean it's literally a green screen behind you, but then with an editor, it allows you to take out the green and put in whatever background you want. So there's a little skill set there, but actually Zoom lets you do that. So if you're familiar with Zoom, you can import a image or even a video, and then put that behind you as you're talking.
Now the students, I don't know how they do it, but like I have them sit in front of the screen of the classroom and they'll put something in the background would that be similar? Like
That's
is
probably
what?
the same thing.
I
Gotcha.
was going to ask about that. How, like, what do they use to record? Like, I don't have a screen in my classroom, so what?
Well, if you have a screen, for example, you can record it with anything, any video camera or your phone, or anything you want, anything that can record video, you can record them as long as there's a green behind them. And then once you've captured that video, then you take it into an editor and you take the green out. Yeah, a little skill set there. So not everybody, maybe would be comfortable doing that. It is really easy, I can tell you, but anything is easy once you've done it a couple times, I suppose. But as far as Zoom is concerned, Zoom is also very friendly and very easy to put backgrounds in. So you could just have them record on Zoom on the camera that's or the laptop or the computer that's in the classroom. They could just sit there, probably need to have something, maybe like a blank wall behind them or something that's fairly nondescript. And then you could import any picture that you want. So you could have a news set, something that looks like it's a modern day news set. Or if they're broadcasting from the moon, you could have the lunar surface, behind them or something like that. Just a thought.
And the students they'll even pull up on their phone like music that sounds like the entry to a news broadcast. Like they figure out how to make it seem more technologically with it than what I could do.
Right. Well, you're talking to us right now with the earth behind you.
Very true.
So you know how to do that, obviously. Or is that an image that Zoom gave you, or did you put that in there?
It was one of their choices. Yeah, I at least knew where to find how to change my backgrounds on Zoom, so that's an accomplishment.
Well, in that same little spot, I forget what the word is, but it just says input or something, and you drop in any picture that you want. You can have any background that you want.
Thank you.
And that could be fun. Let me jump on mine real quick. Choose virtual background. And then this is another one that Zoom gives you.
Where is choose virtual background?
Click on the lower right where it says video, stop video or start video. There's a caret, a drop-down bar. And if you click on that, you'll see choose virtual background. So I click on choose virtual background. I can have the same one that Tracy's got.
Yeah, we can all be in space.
We can all be in space.
Huh.
There's the Northern Lights, which is kind of fun.
Mine says it doesn't meet my computer doesn't meet the requirements.
Oh, then you're stuck. Then you can't.
Okay.
I often use Blur, which is what I have now. I kind of like not having a background that's well focused and it looks more comfortable to me to kind of have a soft blur back there. But if your computer would allow you to do it, or Zoom would allow you to do it, it's really easy to insert either pictures or video or whatever. I made a couple for my kids. My daughter has one which looks like you're on the bridge of the Enterprise. So there's all the controls of the ship, the spaceship behind you, and there's that little window, and on the window there's a planet looks like the ship is rotating around the planet, kind of a thing, So we put together this whole complicated little video for her, but the whole thing runs like 60 seconds and then it loops, so it just starts over again. So it just looks like it's an active bridge. Little lights are flashing, and little screens are moving and things like that. So you can do a lot of different stuff, but I think of things like that sometimes just as a way to help engage the students, just to help them have a little bit more fun. And if they like doing the news broadcast so much, they might like it even more if it looks like it's a real newsroom. If it looks like it's Channel 10 or Channel 6 in the background, or something like that. If any of you ever need help like that, just let me know. I love to do stuff like that. I'll send you a whole bunch of pictures that you can drop behind you, and it'll look like a news set. When I left Channel 6, I actually took a bunch of pictures, and I've used the Channel 6 background for my students. as a background on occasion. Don't tell them I did that. It's probably some copyright violation. I'll probably get in trouble for taking, their intellectual property or whatever. But it was just such a cool thing. I was there in the studio, so I thought I'm going to take some pictures. And they look great on Zoom as well. But you can just go online, go to Google Images or Bing Images, and put in empty newscast or something, or empty news studio, because you don't want people in it. You want just a background that looks empty, and then that would kind of spice up those impromptu speeches a little bit as well. Something fun to look at. When after you record them and you watch them again, they're fun to look at that way. So, just so you guys know, let's see. If I go to video filters, you might be aware that there's all kinds of things you can do here as well. I can put me on TV. So you see me like I'm an old style, like I think a 1970s era TV set there. And then you can put sunglasses on me. So I can look really cool now. No matter how I move around, I've got sunglasses. If you can incorporate that into a speech, I don't know. But if it makes the class a little bit more fun, I'd say do it, and let some of that stress that the students have kind of go away. So they're having so much fun looking at themselves with the filters on or the background on or whatever, that they don't have time to be nervous about public speaking. I don't know. All right. Anybody else have anything they'd like to add? Anything we can do at Penn Highlands to make the ACE program better, or make it more palatable, more clear? We like to think they're not too difficult to do, the ACE classes. I've always felt we're really lucky in public speaking, because most public speaking classes, no matter where you go, we're all the same, right? We all do an information speech. We all do a persuasion speech. We all do different smaller speeches, and we all talk about different elements that go into public speaking. So there's really not too much difference between what we do on campus and what you guys do in your high schools. Other courses, I don't know, it might be a little bit more challenging. If somebody teaches one way, but the college is insisting that we do it this way, and there's conflicts and whatever, that might be more of a challenging situation. But like I said, I've always felt of all the classes, public speaking has to be the easiest one for us to share, because we really do the same thing at the college level and the high school level. Public speaking hasn't changed since the days of Aristotle, and rhetoric. And so we're kind of all teaching the same stuff. Maybe we're doing it a little bit differently with the technology that we have, but the basic, premise of public speaking is always the same. So in that sense, we're kind of lucky. But I've been talking at you for an hour already. We probably can wrap things up. I can let you go on your way. I certainly want to thank all of you for being here today. I wish we were talking before when we first began. I wish we could do this in person. It is so much more fun in person, but this is better than nothing at all, I suppose. And I would love to have I'd love to encourage us as a community to be together. I'm not sure how to do that. We're all busy and we can't, we're lucky we get together once a year, so we probably can't do it more than that. But I would love to, have some kind of mechanism in place where we can share stuff and kind of let people know what we're doing a bit more casually and a bit more frequently. But at least once a year, we do get together and talk. So that's kind of nice. And it's good to know you guys are doing well despite the ongoing pandemic, and making things happen despite that. So if there's anything I can do, please always feel free to, reach out to me and send me an email or call me or something. And if I can help you in any way, I'll be more than happy to do that. So that's what we're here for as well. All right.
Thank you so much.
All right. Well, thanks again for everything. Thanks for coming. And if not before, or if not in an ACE visit or something, I'll see you next year.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Have a great year, everybody.
Thank you. You too.